Eric G182 says, do you guys think that the average person will be able to buy Bitcoin in the future? It may just be reserved for the really wealthy and nation states. Rajat, what do you think about this?
They'll be able to buy it, but the amount that they're going to get is much smaller, right? Like today, if you buy $1, you'll be able to get 1,000 Satoshis. But at that point, if you buy $1, like you're getting 1 Satoshi. So what this person is saying, of course, is accurate. Like let's say if you want to get one whole Bitcoin, it's gonna be nearly impossible for somebody to get one whole Bitcoin at $100 million. But if you have the money, you'll be able to do it. But if you don't have the money, then you won't be able to. That's just what the price is. It's just it just shows you where the market is going. It shows you what you can afford. So at one point, maybe we can already say that Bitcoin is being reserved for the rich people, because at one point you could buy a whole Bitcoin for 1 cent. You could buy 100 million Satoshis for 1 cent. So we're going to a point where at some point, 1 Satoshi is going to be 1 cent. Then 1 Satoshi is going to be 10 cents. Then it's going to be $1. So I kind of agree with what's being said here. It won't really be reserved for the really wealthy. I think everybody will be able to get Bitcoin, but they'll have to exchange their time, effort, energy, resources, the things that they have in exchange for Bitcoin. So let's say if you work a job, maybe you'll get paid in Bitcoin. Or if you sell something, let's say you need to sell your car, maybe that's one of the only ways for you to get Bitcoin. You have to find a Bitcoiner who wants your car. You have to sell your car to them, and that's how you get Bitcoin. It's not really going to be, I wouldn't say it's going to be reserved for the really wealthy and nation states, but the price will just go higher and higher. If you can afford it, you'll be able to buy some at any point. Let's say if you have $100 and one Bitcoin is worth $100 million, you'll be able to get 100 Satoshis. That's not a problem. It won't be reserved for only people who, let's say, are millionaires, billionaires, but you'll be able to get much, much less. That's the key takeaway here.
100%. Yeah, you'll be able to get less, but I think the only way that you won't be able to buy Bitcoin in the future is if it's completely captured by someone or something that doesn't release any Bitcoin into the market. And then in that state, it's failed, in my opinion. So I don't see that ever happening. I think it just becomes more and more difficult to acquire bigger positions of Bitcoin, just as Rajat said. And there's a solution to that in a sense of making it more divisible, even more divisible than a SAT, right? And again, you're not acquiring as much Bitcoin, but you're still able to acquire the same relative amount of purchasing power. That's really the only thing that matters. So I think it just becomes more divisible, and it still trades hands and exchanges, people working, people trading value, and all of that. It's again, if it's not accessible by anybody, if nobody can buy it, then it doesn't work. So it has to happen like that.
Yeah, I kind of subscribe to the theory that at some point here, like if you talk to a Bitcoiner who's been here for 10 years already, they're spending their Bitcoin. They don't care like what the price is or anything. They're like, I bought this thing at $5. It's worth $100,000 now. And I think if you like put yourself in this scenario here, let's say that Bitcoin continues for 40% a year for the next 20 years. That at that point in 21 years from now, 1 SAT is going to be equal to $1. And so therefore you could drive, you could do a whole trip across the USA for maybe 800 sats in gas. 800 sats.
Wow.
Like that's the world that we're going to be living in here. And so when you think about it that way, it's like if you have 20 million sats and it costs you 800 sats to go across the whole USA on a drive, like you're not just going to be hodling those sats, you're going to be spending those. And you're going to be spending those on the people who might not have Bitcoin yet. So I think that forever these Bitcoin will be circulating, because the higher the price of this thing goes, the more likely we are to part with those sats and therefore get them flowing through the economy. And at that point too, you're going to be able to buy a house for 500,000 sats, which you could buy for $500 worth of fake money today. Like this isn't 1,000 years away either. This is in 21 years from now, based on that compound growth rate. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about it.
It might actually be sooner than that, especially with your example of housing, because in that time, as Bitcoin's price goes up, people are going to want to get rid of their houses. So we're going to see a higher supply of housing, and we're going to see a lower supply of Bitcoin at the same time. So it's just going to it's just going to compound. It's going to be like
right.
I don't know. Like it's going to just go wild, right? Because at some point, in terms of the way that I see it, the price is just an exchange rate, right? So today you can buy 0.25 houses per Bitcoin. In total, there are something like 2.4 billion houses in the US, or sorry, in the world, and 150 million in the US alone. So even if you could just buy, even if you just go with the houses in the US, people say, oh, prime real estate, prime location. Real estate has, I mean, in the US, there's prime, it's prime real estate. That's what you would consider because it has property, you get property rights. So even if it's just in the US, one house should cost something like 0.14 Bitcoin. So you should be able to buy 7 houses with 1 Bitcoin. And today you can buy 0.25. So think about how massively overvalued houses are.
Yep. Incredibly.
And how undervalued Bitcoin is overall,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And then that just filters into this thing, right? The average person won't be able to buy as much Bitcoin as they can today, but the things that they want will decrease in price. And let's say today you can earn 30,000 Satoshis per hour. So if you're getting $30 an hour, you're getting 30,000 Satoshis per hour. Maybe at that point you're making 30 Satoshis an hour.
Yeah.
So today you can buy, what is that? 1,000 hours worth of work in 1 hour.
Yep.
That's insane. Correct. So you got to stack
half a
now.
Year. That's half a year of work.
It's crazy.
1,000 hours. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it like that. Like if you're with us here, if you agree in the fact that one day eventually, it might be in 21 years, it might be 10 years, it might be 50 years, those sats are going to have the purchasing power of $1. And if you are actually indeed doing this for your future generations, think about how much you're buying them in the future with just $1 or $2 today. Like think about the power of that 2,000 sats in 50 years from now, when your grandkids are going to be around using that Bitcoin. Think about how much you can buy them today for the future in that sense. I think that when people think about it that way, it's like, why would I not? Why would I store anything in anything other than Bitcoin right now? It just doesn't make any sort of sense to do that.
It sure doesn't. It should be treated as savings technology. That's what it works at right now. And eventually it'll become a medium of exchange because people will not accept fiat.
Yes.
That's when I see it becoming that medium of exchange, that so many people have a problem with Bitcoin today because it can't be used at the corner store down the street. That isn't a problem. That really is not a problem. Eventually it'll become used at that corner store because the owner of the corner store will be a Bitcoiner, understand Bitcoin, and demand Bitcoin and not want to accept fiat. That just diminishes rapidly before that person can exchange it for Bitcoin, right? So they'll want Bitcoin instead. And there'll be, a premium if you pay it in fiat. That'll start to happen more and more with services, businesses and services. A premium paid in fiat or a discounted Bitcoin, but you could look at it either way. And it's inevitable that it becomes a medium of exchange, but it has to happen over time as people acquire it as savings technology, as a store of value.
Yes. JSauce, question: how rare is a whole coiner female? Or are they just a myth and a legend? Or as Mark said in the chat here, a mythical mermaid? I think whole coiners, male or female, are going to be incredibly, incredibly rare in the future, in 10 years from now, and even more so in 100 years from now. It's just, I think people are really underestimating how much one Bitcoin is going to hold. Even today, one Bitcoin, $103,000 US. That's nuts. That's insane. It's just the beginning. But I think the point there is that, we shouldn't be focused on trying to get to one Bitcoin. It should just be realizing that one day one sat is going to be $1, and just try to get as many sats as you can and learn how to protect those sats. And that's kind of like all we can do right now. Add as much value as you can, take fiat or take Bitcoin, but convert the fiat into Bitcoin and store it that way.
I think we might have hit peak whole coiners. I think we may have hit peak whole coiners.
Wow.
I think the trajectory will probably start going down. People will hold more of a portion of Bitcoin.
What do you think, Rajat? Have we hit peak whole coiner status?
I was actually just I was trying to ask a question about what Forrest was saying there. Do you guys think that as more millionaires figure it out, aren't they going to want to get a whole coin and then they're never going to sell? I have a feeling that whole coiners might actually increase because retailers still selling their Bitcoin, right? But then there's also other people who have thousands of Bitcoin. Like let's say whenever MicroStrategy buys 1,000 Bitcoin, they're basically eliminating 1,000 whole coiners. And they've been buying 1,000 Bitcoin a week. Right. So they're eliminating 1,000 whole coiners every single week.
That's exactly why I think there's going to be less whole coiners from now on, is because there isn't 1,000 millionaires every single week buying a whole coin. Or and maybe they are, but maybe they're buying multiple coins, right? Maybe they're buying 2, 3, 20 coins and a couple million worth of Bitcoin. And then they're eliminating the ability for other whole coiners out there as well, because they're holding on to them.
Yeah, when they figure it out, they want 5, 10, 15. They want as much as they can. But then at some point, it's going to be a competition to get to the next 0.1. Then it's going to be a competition to get to the next 0.01. Like if you have 0.97 Bitcoin and you're a millionaire, you're probably going to do whatever you can to get that extra 0.03, that extra 3 million Satoshis. You're going to work as hard as you can. You're going to create as much value as you can. If you have extra rental properties, you're going to get rid of them to get that 0.03 because it's a status symbol.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. Even at the Bitcoin conference, there was a specific tag. Like you could get a band that said Nakamoto on it, and I think it was supposed to be for people who have 1,000 Bitcoin or something like that. So at some point, I mean, it's kind of stupid to have that if you pay $25,000 for that. It's kind of dumb. But I mean, the fact that you have 1,000 Bitcoin, you have the money to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So the people who have, like I was saying, the people who have 0.97. They're going to do whatever they can to get to 1. If you have 0.097 or 0.097, you're going to do anything you can to get to that 0.1, right? If you have 0.0097, you're going to do anything you can to get to that 0.01. And at some point, because the competition is just going to get crazier and crazier to get to 1 million Satoshis, 10 million, 100 million Satoshis, it's just going to push the price higher and higher. It's inevitable. And I think that goes to the question that we have in the start comments. Why are we so obsessed with Bitcoin hitting $1 million? We're not obsessed with it. We just want you to figure it out before it hits $1 million, because we know it's going to happen. We knew that governments were going to adopt Bitcoin. We knew that there was going to be adoption from Wall Street. It's not that we're celebrating that's happening. We're celebrating that Bitcoiners predicted that and they were right. That's the point. So let's say in a year, 2 years, 5 years, even 10 years, people are going to come back to this video and they're going to be wondering why we're talking about $1 million Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's now $10 million. Now it's $50 million. So they're going to think, okay, these guys were so early. They knew what they were talking about. They were into this thing for such a long time. They figured it out so long ago. Maybe we should listen to them. But we don't want you guys to do that after. We don't want you to do that after it hits $1 million. We want you to do that before. That's why we've created our channels. That's why we created the Maple Bitcoin channel. It's to get you on board before the rest of the world figures it out, before all the millionaires want it, before all the billionaires.
Yeah. So start stacking and get yourself towards that one Bitcoin. One of these. They're only $1.50 on Amazon. They're not that bad.
Amazing.
Kind of my theory, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this, but my theory on this whole thing is that millionaires are actually going to be the ones who get screwed most by Bitcoin. Because billionaires, they don't have any worries ever. They could wait till the price is $200 million for a Bitcoin and they could still probably get to 1 Bitcoin at that point. Like $1 billion is just so much more than you ever need. So like billionaires, what's that?
Like Warren Buffett, even if he gets it like 10 years from now, he'll still have more Bitcoin than all of us combined.
Exactly. So billionaires will be unaffected. But then for the average person, the people that we're talking to in this chat right now, we actually have the ability to get ahead of millionaires here. This is an opportunity for the average person to understand what's happening, to take a little bit of risk, to put your ball sack on the table and say, you know what? I'm tired of that system. I want to be a millionaire in the future. And there's no way that I can do that in the current circumstances that we have today. So as an average person, this is an opportunity. But for millionaires, most millionaires will never have 1 Bitcoin. There's going to be average people who live in a van right now. I was going to say the F word there, but I stopped. A van right now who have 1 Bitcoin, and they're going to have way more wealth in a couple decades from now than somebody who has 3 houses, 10 cars, all the bullshit. That's what's going to happen here. The millionaires are going to be most impacted by Bitcoin. Some will react early, but many of the millionaires will be burned by Bitcoin.
Well, most of those millionaires have all assets that are, those millions of dollars or $1 million is all tied up in fairly illiquid assets like real estate or stocks and bonds or whatever, right? And they have to make the hard decision to sell something when they don't know if timing's right and all of that. It's very difficult. If somebody is just a pleb, they're just scraping off a few $100s after a paycheck and just slamming that into Bitcoin, that's pretty easy to do, right? With these people, there's a lot of mental hoops they have to hop through. They have to figure out if Bitcoin's right for them. All this, it's going to take time. And yeah, they're just, all those assets that they might already have that makes them a millionaire, those are all going to trend to the value of like the Bitcoin that underlies them, which is in real estate, nothing, right? If they own some Tesla, maybe it'll go down to the value of the Tesla's Bitcoin, right? But yeah, it's all going to trend to the value of the Bitcoin that they hold, their net worth. And so if we can acquire more Bitcoin, we're going to have a higher net worth at a certain point than the millionaires of today.
Yeah.
There's people, here's the crazy thing. There's people watching the show today who will have more Bitcoin than countries.
Yeah. Wow.
That's insane.
That's crazy to think about. Yeah.
Because they can't create more of it. No matter how many people want to hold this asset, no matter how long it takes for people to figure out what this asset is, they can't create more of it. Every 10 minutes, new Bitcoin is released for the next 140 years, but it's already been distributed. It's already been distributed, and they're going to have to come take it from us. And that's why, again, you got to focus on how you're protecting this thing. It doesn't matter how much Bitcoin you have today. You need to have the conviction, you need to have the security in place, and you need to have an inheritance plan in place. Otherwise, in a decade from now, it doesn't matter if you had 100 Bitcoin today. If you're not doing things properly, if you're not building the proper foundation for this Bitcoin right now, it's going to be gone. And you're going to be the guy who's telling the story forever that, oh, back in 2025, I had 50 million sats. You don't want to be that guy telling the story. You want to be the guy that is on 100 acres of land and is spending 500 sats a day maintaining their lifestyle because you took the time back in 2025 to understand this asset and protect this asset.
Yeah. And in 20 years, nobody's going to care if you had Bitcoin before. It doesn't matter. If you had Bitcoin, like there's people who, like the guy who gave away his 10,000 Bitcoin for pizza, he can't go around telling merchants that, oh yeah, I used to have 10,000 Bitcoin. They want your Bitcoin now. They don't care if you used to have it. They care about it now. The key here is to get through to the point where Bitcoin actually hits $1 million. Most people are not going to get there. They're going to sell early. They're going to sell at 200K. They're going to sell at 300K, or they're just not going to buy because they're going to expect that the first 100K took 15 years and the second 100K is going to take another 15 years because they can't grasp compounding.
Yeah, it's better to have Bitcoin today than to have a story of having Bitcoin in the past.
Yes.
Not as valuable.
No.
Agreed.
Nobody's going to care.
No.
You're going to love telling the story. Every time you go out and have a couple of beers, you're going to love telling the story, but nobody's going to care because you don't have that Bitcoin. So who cares? So yeah, you're absolutely right there.